Well, the Big D is back on this Friday night. We are discussing everything from week 6, Thursday Night Football, Broncos, Chiefs. Is Russell Wilson watch? Do the Chiefs need a wide receiver? And more on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in Alex, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. See all my content. See all my videos. Also, check out the Big D podcast for the audio listeners on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us to discuss everything from Russell Wilson, Chiefs, maybe, I don't know, I mean, how the Dolphins got to play the New York football Giants and Carolina Panthers. The biggest Taylor Swift fan I know, Alex.
I don't know about the last part, but thank you for the otherwise lovely introduction, Dylan. It's a pleasure to be back as always.
Come on, Alex. Come on, Alex. You probably have like 20 of Taylor Swift's albums on your mantle at home.
Definitely not my musical artist of choice, but we can just shake that off.
Come on. Well, then, who is your number one music mogul?
Oh man, I'm a big Green Day fan, Dylan. Anything '90s rock alternative, Blink 182, Weezer. I'm a Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm a '90s kid, but Green Day is definitely the number one for me.
Okay. So Thursday night football usually provides a lot of answers. I think this Thursday night provided us with more questions because the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Denver Broncos 19-8. And be honest with you, I mean I didn't see all the game, but everything I saw and looking at the stats and looking at Russell Wilson, I'm like, what happened to Russ? Because did you see how many yards he threw for last night?
Yeah, I believe it was double digits.
I think he threw for in 60 minutes, right? He threw for what? 90
95,
yards
95 total yards passing.
or one of Josh Allen's passes to Gabriel Davis last year.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, definitely not the statistical performance we are looking to see in primetime football.
I mean, I thought that when the Denver Broncos acquired Russell Wilson, they were geniuses. Apparently, Pete Carroll was a genius because Russell Wilson is 34, no major injury, and looks like he's 48.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because, we've seen such a great success from Russell Wilson in the NFL. And I mean, he was always one of those guys, who just had that personality who it was kind of easy to root for. He was a little awkward, a little nerdy. Obviously the Let's Ride made some circles in the media and on social media in particular. But, I've always been a big Russell Wilson fan, just from a neutral perspective. I always thought, he was it was different profile than you typically see from the quarterback position. He made it work. He was very successful, in his time in Seattle, and it's honestly a shame to me to see what it's come to and kind of what his legacy has kind of crashed and burned as it has, similar to his head coaching counterpart currently out there in Denver. But honestly, that's my first initial thoughts when it comes to thinking about Russell. Is it's just sad to see kind of the trajectory of his career and how it's really fallen off from one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League that we had consistently, I think, talking heads around the NFL for years and years would agree that Russell Wilson was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And it's just a shame, to be honest, to see him struggling so much in Denver. And it's I mean, it's just watching him be really a shell of his former self. So, as an NFL fan, first and foremost, like I said, it's just something that you never want to see those successful players really fall off like that. I know there's been a couple of quarterbacks. I know Drew Brees, the last season or two of his career, his skill level had diminished, his arm strength had pretty much fallen off, and it's just those guys, those long-term, childhood quarterbacks. It's you never want to see them getting older and really starting to hit the wrong side of the hill. But I think it's safe to say that that's about where we are with Russell Wilson at this point.
Yeah, I mean, seeing some of these old guys play, I mean, Eli Manning was done 2, 3 years before he retired. Big Ben looked like he spent most of the offseason at Golden Corral.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was done probably 2, 3 years before he retired, and Peyton Manning had more neck surgeries than MVPs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and you have to fully understand it. I mean, these guys who have been playing quarterback in the National Football League for decades, or at least 10 plus years. It's hard to give it up, but at some point, you you know that you're doing it for the fans at the end of the day, and not being able to put out a product that's worth watching is almost doing a disservice to yourself.
I mean, do you think Russ is just? It's funny watching Russ play because he's never dealt with an injury. I mean, the biggest injury he's dealt with is a finger injury. But what do you think is up with Russ? Is it that he's lost his mobility, or maybe we focus more on the mobility more than his accuracy and quirkiness?
Yeah, I think there's a couple facets. He was in a really I'm sure he was really comfortable in Seattle. Obviously working with Pete Carroll for so long, he we saw the connection that he had built with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf in their time there, and to kind of uplift after being there, for so long, and being in the Seattle Seahawks franchise for so long. There's definitely a learning curve, and there's definitely an adjustment. It's just worrying and concerning to me that it's been this long and things definitely seem to be getting worse for the Broncos as opposed to getting better. It's hard to kind of nail down exactly what I think. The main concerns with them, whether it's confidence. I mean, there's talent on that Denver Broncos offense. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is a heck of a wide receiver. Courtland Sutton is not a Joe either. I mean, Javonte Williams obviously is dealing with the repercussions of his injury from last season, but there's talent on that team, and there's too much talent on that team to be throwing for 95 yards in a professional football game. Like, I know it's Thursday night, I know it's a short week, and it makes things tough. You're playing against the Super Bowl champions, but I mean, like you said, I mean, we've Josh Allen can make that in one play. Tua with his speedy receivers can make that in one play. It's just you're playing 60 minutes of football, and you really got to be able to. I mean, 13 to 22, it's just honestly a dreadful performance.
I mean, I like Denver's offense. I mean, I wish they played more with Mims more. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton. I don't know why Javonte Williams hasn't played more coming off the ACL because Brees Hall looked good last week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, injuries it's a case by case basis. You can't have a collective answer for each injury, even if it's the same injury. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it just seems like it's time to blow it up, really. It's Jerry Jeudy has been kind of working through the trade rumor mill. Looks like Indianapolis might be interested in making a move for him, so he might be out the door. And it's a shame. It's a shame to the Broncos organization that they threw so much money at Sean Payton, because that experiment does not seem like it's working out at all.
Why do you think Russ and Sean Payne aren't working? Because to me, I see one difference. Sean's so demanding, so aggressive, while Russ is more spiritual, happy, and I don't think the relationship's all there.
No, I think you make a great point. I think that's going to be, we're not in there. We're not in, there every day, but just taking it from the perspective that we have as fans and, talking heads, if you will. I definitely think that's got to be a big portion of it. Just looking at their personalities. I mean, I don't want to stack on what you said, but I mean, you make a very good point where Sean Payton, he has that reputation for being stern, for being, a coach's coach, and not necessarily going the Mike McDaniel route, or like the nice guy kind of route. Obviously, Bounty Gate, that I don't think that necessarily happens. With a buddy head coach in the first place. So and with Russell Wilson, I mean, whether it's personality, whether one of them just isn't happy with the production of the other one. I'm sure they both are probably feeling some frustrations from the other part, from the counterpart, but we're not, like I said, we're not in the facility day by day. We can only see what's on TV, on Sundays and the clips from practices through the week that we get. But yeah, I definitely think personality. There's just from surface level, there it seems like there would be a conflict there, and things definitely aren't working out on the performance side of things. So you got to think there's got to be something going on. There's got to be some sort of disconnect.
And by the way, it's not like Sean Payton's been escape proof this year. I mean, why you take a timeout with what 20 something seconds left in the first half? When
Yeah.
you know Kansas City only needs 13 seconds to score.
Yeah, it's just honestly, I mean, I don't want to make it all about the Dolphins, but you give up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, and half that defense, maybe even more of that defense, quit in the third quarter of that football game. Which at that point the game was so out of hand, like you're not coming back. But it's just like I just have a feeling that the players aren't bought into. Obviously, I mean they can't be bought into what Sean Payton's saying. They're sitting at 1-5, and in definitely in prime spot for a top draft pick this year. And it's just, I just have to have a feeling that the players aren't on board with the vision that the coaches have, if the coaches have a vision, because at this point it really doesn't look like they do have a vision. And I don't think it's necessarily just a disconnect between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. I think position coaches, I think coordinators. It just seems like no one is really in it for the Denver Broncos this season. You're giving up on football games. You're, sitting at 1-5. You spent a lot of money on a quarterback. You spent a lot of money on a head coach, and none of that is, or a lot of capital on a quarterback, I guess you could say. But none of it's working out. And I know if I was a player in that situation, I'd be looking at the salary that my head coach is making with a 1-5 record, wondering, why is he making this much, this much amount of money, maybe even more than some of these players on the team, and these are results we're getting. So I wouldn't blame some of those players for being frustrated and not necessarily give them their 100%.
And plus, I think the Broncos could potentially be a trade. I mean, usually you don't see teams quote unquote selling professional football. I think Denver could sell Judy, Sutton, Garrett Bowles, who's the safety to pick off Mahomes last night, Justin Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Denver could sell off a couple pieces.
I mean, they already released Frank Clark. That they made that news official, so they couldn't even trade him. And then who's the other defensive lineman? What, Randy Gregory, I think?
Yeah, now he's in San Francisco.
Yeah, they parted ways with him earlier in the week as well. So, before the trade deadline, I wouldn't be, I would think it's safe to assume that that's not the last moves they're making. Obviously, I referenced the Jerry Jeudy trades. I mean, there was something that came out, I think, last week that said pretty much every piece on the Denver's defense, other than one, which we have to assume Pat Surtain is that one, is pretty much available. So yeah, it seems like
Broncos trade him.
Honestly, it just depends on if you want to blow it up, or if you want to at least keep. I mean, he's a young piece. You're not paying him anything. He's still in his rookie deal, and he's proven himself as one of the most talented, young defensive players in the league. So.
Probably the best one in the league. Sorry, Sauce going there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep some pieces for the future. You can't necessarily blow everything up. He would definitely get you the most value if you are looking to move somebody, but I think there's enough expendable pieces on that Denver team that they can get some assets. They can really set themselves up for the future without necessarily giving, their diamond in the rough, if you will, out there. But I have a question for you, Dylan. I'm curious. Obviously, with Denver sitting at 1-5, you're at this point in the season, you're already thinking towards the draft. You kind of have to after 6 games with 1 win. And I'm curious, if Denver Broncos end up with, say, a top 3 draft pick, are you thinking quarterback? Are you thinking replace Russell Wilson, or where's your mindset if you're in charge of the draft room on draft day? Sitting there with the Denver Broncos top 3 pick.
1,000%, I'm taking a quarterback. 1,000%, I'm taking a quarterback. It doesn't even have to be Caleb Williams. It could be Drake May, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Shedeur Sanders. The Broncos need a new quarterback. Russell Wilson's old and getting old. I don't care if his contract is basically untradeable. I mean, the Packers somehow trade Aaron Rodgers. The Falcons ate a huge amount of dead cap space on Matt Ryan. If the Broncos flat out release Russell Wilson, it will throw the Broncos in the salary cap hell. They'll have to eat what 80, I think 85 million in dead cap space. But it will be better because Sean Payton can get his guy, and we know what Sean Payton can do with quarterbacks. Drew Brees in the Hall of Famer, one with Haysom Hill, Andy Dalton, and not Andy Dalton, but James Winston New Orleans. And for the Broncos, just clean slate, get your quarterback, and then figure out this team because the Broncos need a quarterback and spend all their other picks on defense.
Yeah.
Because that Broncos couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Yeah, it's true. And, there's so much talent at the top of the draft at the quarterback position. I know that, it's a move that just makes too much sense. The question, I do want to follow up, Dylan, here as well, because you have to think from Sean Payton's point of view. I mean, the fact that you're making this much money, the fact that you have this resume that you're expected to stand up to, and the absolute pure disappointment that we've seen from Sean Payton lately. Obviously, I know, you'd be on board with them replacing Russell Wilson at quarterback. Do you think just replacing Russell Wilson at quarterback and keeping Sean Payton is the right move for Denver? Or do you think it'd be a better move to really just blow it up altogether, get a fresh quarterback, get a fresh new head coach, have the head coach draft the quarterback that that he'd be wanting to work with the most? Or do you think Sean Payton still has hope to turn this Broncos franchise around if he just kind of blow everything up and let him take the reins on that rebuild?
I think I would keep Payton and get rid of Russ because Sean Payton in the draft acquired Russell Wilson. Let Sean Payton get his own guy and see what he can do.
Yeah. All right. Cool. But there was two teams that played last night, and we definitely spent a lot of time. Obviously, Denver, I think it's safe to say, has the most concerns between the two. But on the flip side, the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it's a team that we have high expectations for. They're the Super Bowl champions. Patrick Mahomes has led the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game 5 straight seasons. So obviously, we expect greatness every time we watch the Kansas City Chiefs play. I do want to preface this by saying it was a Thursday night. Thursday night football games have been terrible since they've been introduced. It's definitely by far the sloppiest football we watch are those Thursday night primetime games when you're coming off a short week. Do you have concerns for the Kansas City Chiefs only putting up 19 points last night against a Denver Broncos defense that, obviously gave up 70 points a couple weeks ago to the Miami Dolphins? Do you think that it's a little bit more of just that Thursday night short week, and it's something that we can kind of just move past and chalk up to, the short week, and it's just they did what they had to do to win? I mean, I know anyone with Harrison Butker on their fantasy team, me included, I was very happy with his performance last night, but that's probably the happiest people after last night's game was Butker fantasy owners. So,
maybe Travis Kelce.
I mean, he couldn't get in the end zone, which I'm sure Kelce fans are used to seeing those 6 points come in, but he still had a good week statistically. But pretty much that's where I'm going is, do you have concerns with Kansas City after, really having a field goal fest against Denver, or do you chalk it up to more, just being a Thursday night short week?
I see big problems with Kansas City, and I'll tell you why. What do the San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, and Jacksonville Jaguars have that the Kansas City Chiefs do not have?
Number 1 wide receiver?
Yeah. Who was Kansas City's number 1 receiver target last night? Not Travis Kelce, because we know Travis Kelce. Who was Kansas City's number 1 receiver target last night?
You talking about targets in general or production? Where are we going?
Rasheed Rice led Kansas City receivers with 4 catches for 72 yards last night.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know what team this Kansas City offense reminds me of a little bit?
Who's that?
I'll give you a hint. Name me another dynasty where a legendary quarterback and a legendary tight end played together.
I think you must be referencing Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski.
Yes, I'm referencing the late 2010 New England Patriots because the 2018 New England Patriots Super Bowl team didn't have great wide receiver core. Julian Edelman was on his last legs. Gronk really wasn't the same player. James White was often New England's leading tailback. And I'm beginning to think Kansas City reminds me so much of those New England Patriot teams. Because, yes, Travis Kelce is amazing, but he's dealing with injuries. I mean, the Chiefs don't have anybody who scares you. And in 2023, wide receivers matter more than ever.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, other than Travis Kelce, one of the most dangerous players we've been seeing from that Kansas City offense is Isaiah Pacheco this season. But
That guy looks like a tank.
yeah, he does. But I mean, and just to stack on that, I mean, look at what Devon Chan has done for Miami this season. Running backs can come out of nowhere and they can go just as quickly as they've came. So I think you make a great point with the receiving core. I mean, I'm looking statistically at the stats last night, just to kind of stack on what you were saying a little bit. Obviously, what Travis Kelce's done. Rashee Rice as the number one target, or as the number one productive receiver outside of Kelce. Behind that, Isaiah Pacheco, 6 receptions for 36 yards. It's a running back. Sky Moore, who really plays a bit of a hybrid position, 2 receptions for 22 yards. Jerick McKinnon, another running back, 3 receptions for 20 yards. After that, Noah Gray, 2 receptions for 14 yards. And then you finally see another receiver with Kadarius Toney with 3 receptions for 9 yards. It's just, Valdez Scantling with 1 target, Justin Watson with 1 target. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 1 reception, but you're not seeing anyone else really contribute other than Travis Kelce. And the people who are, it's really peanuts for stats. I'll tell you what, obviously coming into the season, the Kansas City Chiefs had to, I think they will have the expectations of being one of the favorites in the AFC up until they're proven otherwise, just because of the consistency that they've had over the last couple of years. But watching this start to the season, even sitting at a 5-1 record, I'll tell you what, when Miami goes to Germany to play Kansas City, I'm a lot less nervous than I, now for that matchup than I was at the beginning of this season. Kansas City obviously is talented. You've got the best quarterback in the league. You've got the best tight end in the league, and you've got one of the best head coaches in the league. That's going to win you football games on its own a lot of the times. But when you're going up against these Miami Dolphins or any other of these high-profile AFC teams, down the stretch, and really when these games count, in this loaded AFC, playoff seeding is going to play a big part. Any of these division winners and division leaders, you really have to step up for these games, unless you want to have to worry about playing an away game in the playoffs. So I think this Chiefs team is one of the more beatable teams that we've seen in the recent history, and it's weird saying that with a 5-1 record, especially last season when the Chiefs started out with a worse record than they have currently. But I'd much rather play this year's 5-1 Chiefs team than where the Chiefs were at this point in the season last season, when we might have even had more question marks just because of the record. So it's I definitely agree with you on the concerns there. And as I said, as a Miami Dolphins fan, I'm excited for that matchup, and I'm expecting to go into Germany and win that football
game. Hey, as someone whose team just went 2-0 in the UK, I'm glad we played the Bills week 5 in London rather than week 15 in Orchard Park, because you know what happens in Orchard Park during December. Bad things happen.
Bad things do happen, and I'll tell you what, I'm glad we don't play Kansas City and Arrowhead in November.
Yeah, although you should be playing doing Oktoberfest rather than Novemberfest.
It's true.
Because Oktoberfest and football
sounds like a beautiful combination.
Do you think, quickly, who's one wide receiver do you think the Chiefs could acquire? or
I
should
mean,
look to acquire?
I think the Chiefs would love to make a move for Jerry Jeudy. I don't think that the Broncos are gonna, move him within the division. I think that's a pretty fat chance of happening. Um, it's tough. I mean, the thing is, I think the Chiefs need to make a move for a receiver, but it's got to. I would have to think it's got to come from an NFC team because I couldn't imagine any team in the AFC wanting to provide help to the team who has been dominating the AFC for the past 5 years. So I mean, I think to I don't know. Who are players who are potentially, moving out the door? I mean, if they wanted to make a big statement, I mean, trying to take CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys would be a very aggressive move. But
Dallas is not playing CeeDee Lamb.
yeah, but I don't know. You have a name in mind, Dylan? Two
Okay,
names in mind.
one on each coast.
Cool.
One of them, and two different kind of playmakers. One of them is really, really fast, and the other one is really, really consistent. Can you guess who they are?
Really, really fast and really, really consistent on opposite coasts. No, this could be a multitude of people.
Oh, no. You want another hint?
Sure.
One of them caught passes from a legendary number 12. And it's not Devontae Adams.
I mean, Brady never really had. Who am I forgetting?
Mike Evans.
Okay. That's a good show, for sure.
And the other one, Marquise Brown.
Nice. All right. Boy, Mike Evans with Patrick Mahomes, that'd be a scary sight.
Yeah, because guess what? You can't double Kelsey and Evans.
Mm-mm. Boy. No, I like that. I mean, the logistics would be interesting. Both NFC teams, which fall in line with my theory that you might have to go to the NFC to be able to make that kind of move, but
Because Devontae Adams, because the Raiders are not helping out their old rivals. No, 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 no.
yeah, no, I think that's really insightful. I think that those are two great names for them to consider for sure. We've heard the Mike Evans trade rumors, going into the season, and they haven't necessarily gone away as the season's gone on.
I mean, it would be weird seeing Mike Evans catch pass from Pat Mahomes, but he might be what the Chiefs need.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It's Patrick Mahomes is a different breed. At this point, that he could have me as a receiver on that team, they'd still probably find a way to make the Super Bowl. Playoff patties, it's
And you would catch 3 touchdowns in Las Vegas, win the MVP, and then go off in the sunset. That's your idea.
give me the paycheck, give me a couple passes, I'll make it worth it. You can give me a fraction of what Mike Evans would be asking for.
Yeah, so Mike Evans would want 15 million. You would just take 15 cents, right?
Just pay my hospital bills. That's all I ask.
Hospital bills. How about your hot tub treatments?
Yeah, ice bath, hot tub, all the above, man. I don't need Javon Holland or Patrick Peterson taking any shots at me.
Javon, Patrick Peterson's older than either one of us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't want to take a hit from him. I'll tell you that much.
I'd rather have Patrick Peterson hitting me than intercepting one of my quarterback's passes.
It's true. It depends on the stage of the game.
I mean, be honest with you, week 6 is not good for injuries. It seems like everybody's hurt. I mean, which injury do you think could have the biggest impact on this weekend slate?
This weekend slate? Oh, geez. I mean, on this weekend slate. See, it's tough because like some of the main injuries that I'm thinking of, like the teams don't really stand a chance. Like, I mean, the Giants were never going to beat the Buffalo Bills whether Daniel Jones was playing or not. I really don't think the Browns have a chance against the San Francisco 49ers whether Deshaun Watson's playing or not. I don't think the Dolphins losing Devon Achane really would make much of a difference whether we beat the Carolina Panthers or not. Just looking to see. I mean, I think T. Higgins, potentially being out for that Seahawks game. The Bengals need to start getting some victories. Obviously, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, have had a connection, have some sparks coming back from last week. So you definitely want to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase make that connection. But losing out if T. Higgins can't play, this week against Seattle, the Bengals are sitting at 2-3. You got to win that football game to come back to even, to give yourself, after 6 games, a good, at least sitting at 500 for the next, 10, 11 weeks of the season. You fall down to 2-4. That's a big hole to come out of this early in the year. So I definitely think, T. Higgins, I would say would be a big one that could have a big influence, especially with, how Geno Smith and those Seattle Seahawks receivers are playing, sitting at 3-1. So, I guess if I had to come up with something off the top of my head, I think T. Higgins' availability would be a pretty big determining factor for the Cincinnati Bengals. And really, it's tough to say must-win game, but falling to 2-4, that's not where you want to be in that AFC.
By the way, bold prediction: I think the Bengals beat the Seahawks on Sunday.
Yeah, they need to, man. I mean, Zach Brown's going to have them fired up, and Joe Burrow's going to do whatever he can.
Zach Brown? You mean Zach Brown? You mean the country music? You mean the country music singer or the McLaren guy?
Did I say Zach Brown? That's
you mean Zach Taylor?
Zach Taylor. That's exactly who I meant. But Zach Taylor is going to have the boys fired up, and Joe Burrow's going to try and do whatever he can to win that football game.
I've got a sneaky injury for you. What the heck is going on with Deshaun Watson? Because it looked like he was going to play week 4, didn't play week 4. Cleveland went on bye last week, and now week 6. And guess who's not playing on Sunday?
Deshaun Watson.
And I know this shoulder injury can last 2 to 6 weeks, but everybody's hurt. Both quarterbacks in the Super Bowl played with a shoulder injury, the other played with a high ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I know all of the fantasy football players out there know exactly how hard it's been lately, but it's just been the revolving cycle of injured reserve players. I mean, I'm just taking players out of my IR spot, throwing them into my bench, taking players in my bench, throwing them into my IR spot. Anthony Richardson going down was definitely a big hurt in my 2-quarterback league. So, it's been a tough year for fantasy football because of the injury carousel. It's crazy. We've seen, more injuries, I'd say, this year than, it seems like in the past. And, it's definitely been frustrating. And, one thing I will say about Deshaun Watson and that injury he's got, just please, Cleveland, please keep the man away from the massage parlors. That is not what he needs to recover. Please.
I'm not sure that's funny. I'm not sure that's funny or serious.
I mean, it was meant as a joke, but definitely a good bit of seriousness behind it. We need to keep that man in safe distance.
Yeah. By the way, Justin Jefferson, injured reserve. Devon Achane, injured reserve. Anthony Richardson, injured reserve.
James Conner. The list goes on and on.
Saquon Barkley.
Deontay Johnson.
Well, Saquon hasn't been on injured reserve yet, but
it's brutal.
The whole Chicago Bears running back team.
Yeah. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is just getting back after last week, but that was a tough start for a lot of people to start the year.
Hey, Jonathan Taylor finally returned.
Yeah. He returned to see the Zach Moss show firsthand.
Yeah, and guess who gets to face JT this weekend?
Jacksonville Jaguars, correct?
Yep.
All right. Don't you guys
Um,
always lose to the Colts? Or you always
no,
beat the
no,
Colts?
the Colts never win in Jacksonville.
That's right.
You never beat the Texans.
That's right. You never beat the Texans, but put all your money on the Jaguars this weekend. Heard.
That's it. That's if your eliminator didn't lose to the Jags on week 3.
Or the Vikings week 2. Or
Wait, you used Minnesota as your eliminator week 2
no,
at Philly? That would have been dumb.
no. I picked the Chargers, but I'm getting myself all confused. It's been a
What?
long day.
What did Jalen Phillips sack you one too many times last week?
Something like that, man. I mean, Zach Sealer maybe, man. He's getting that nickname Sack Sealer coming in really quick.
By the way, I don't even know if there's a great game on this weekend. I mean, what do you think's the best one on paper?
On paper, I mean, I think the Seahawks Bengals is going to be a good one.
By the
Um,
way, by the way, I want to hear 3 convincing picks you like. It doesn't matter. I mean, not Carolina, Miami, because I think we both have a clear understanding. But like 3 games that could go either way. Who do you like in each one?
um, I'm on board with you with the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Seahawks this weekend. I think the Bengals know they need to win that football game.
And Joe Burrow is healthy for once. Well,
Yeah,
healthier.
he's got to be healthier, right? I've got full confidence in the Bears to beat the Vikings in the matchup of 1-4s. I think we're gonna see. I know that the Bears have been through a lot this season, but I think I had my first gut instinct was that I drafted DJ Moore and Justin Fields in a couple different leagues, and my first gut instinct was that they were going to get off to a slow start and then start connecting and really putting the pieces together. We obviously saw it last week, and I'm excited to see this Bears team, bounce back after that, very dominant performance last week, and really, try and keep it going and keep the Justin Fields, DJ Moore show going. So, I think my second pick would definitely be the Bears and a pretty convincing win over the Minnesota Vikings. Um,
I'm even surprised the Bears are a dog in that game because Chicago won. Justin Fields played really well. The weather's not going to help Minnesota because Kirk Cousins can't play when it's 48 degrees. It's going to be raining, could be windy. The Bears can run the ball. And like the wait a minute, who's not going to be running around on Sunday? I hear the Vikings won't have some half decent wide receiver playing.
yeah, Justin Jefferson missing that game. I mean, it's got to be kind of a scary sight to think for Vikings fans moving forward without him. And then, for a third pick, I would put full confidence in the Raiders to beat the Patriots, but I don't think the Patriots will win another game for the rest of the year. I don't know why they're starting Mac Jones this week. It's blow it up time in New England. I told you last time on our show, Bill Belichick's seat should be hot. It should be getting even hotter. And why we aren't talking about him being a potential candidate to lose his job. I know he's done a lot for that organization, but the man is not a GM, and it's really looking like it was the Tom Brady show over that time.
I've got 3. I do like the Bengals and Bears, but I really like the Saints defense. Yes, CJ Stroud has been phenomenal this year,
Yeah,
but who drafted it? But who's got the New Orleans Saints in both of our Yahoo leagues?
you do, correct?
Yep, and here's why: the New Orleans Saints face maybe 2 good quarterbacks this year. One's Trevor Lawrence, the other one's Jared Goff.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud hasn't thrown the pick yet. Well, did anybody see what the Saints did to Mac Jones last week?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, the Saints scored a lot of points, and how many points did New England score?
Goose egg, baby.
Yes. So, I'm I think the Saints will get pressure. I mean, Derek Hall in a dome, so if he's healthy, I think Derek Hall will be fine. Alvin Kamara's looking great. I think Chris Olave is a buy low candidate in fantasy.
Yeah, I like that. I was gonna pick the Saints over the Texans as my third pick, but I saw the Raiders Patriots game right below it on the slate, and I always take the chance to beat up on the Patriots.
Yeah, you think Josh McDaniels is going to beat Bill Belichick like he did in Denver, with Kyle Orton 14 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's written in stone.
Or 15 years ago. I'd love the Ravens in London. I mean, how the Ravens lost to the Colts and Seals beyond me. The Ravens should be 4-1, 5-0. I mean, but I feel like Baltimore's better than its record.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamar's played really well. It's just that the Ravens couldn't catch a cold in Alaska right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe one of my best terms, if you listen to my golf podcast, the Raven receivers couldn't hit water if they fell off a boat in the English Channel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I think the Ravens get it together. Lamar's playing well. Well, eventually, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham, somebody's going to catch the bleeping ball.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think Derrick Henry might be relinquishing his throne in the UK, maybe.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Unfortunately, he's been such a pleasure to watch throughout his career, but we might be seeing.
King Henry might become Prince Henry in London.
There you go. I like that. I like what you
And
did.
then third, I think the LA Chargers are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys in a road game. Even the Chargers are technically hosting the game because we know the Cowboy fans will be penetrating SoFi on Monday night.
Absolutely.
Give me the better quarterback. Give me the better play caller. Give me the best uniforms in football. The Chargers bring out the powder blues. I don't know what's going on with Dak. I don't know what's going on with the Cowboys' ineptness to give CeeDee Lamb the ball, give him the bleeping ball, open it up, throw it to Brandon Cooks, throw it to Michael Gallup, throw it to Jake Ferguson, let Tony Pollard eat. What's going on, Mike McCarthy? You say you some analytical genius? What was that last week against the San Francisco 49ers? You look like the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Ooh, let him have it.
You look like the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. The 49ers, they're tough. They are making a very big statement so far in this year that, I might have underrated them just a tad bit in our preseason rankings to put them behind Philly in my NFC rankings. But, they're definitely proven. I knew they'd be good, but they're doing even better than I expected.
Yeah, one of us picked the Eagles to win the NFC. The other one picked the 49ers to win the NFC. Although, to be honest with you, our AFC picks right now don't look that great.
No, they don't.
Yeah, you picked the Bengals, and then I picked the. Who did I pick?
Chiefs, right?
No, I picked the
Oh, the
Chargers.
Chargers. That's right. Oh, God. Yeah, it's not good.
And the Chargers keep finding ways. Like, if the Chargers end up with a lead, I would be okay with Brandon Staley just punting the ball up, stepping with 2 minutes left.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with
The
you.
Browns will probably get a touchdown, go for two, make it, and I'm like, fire this piece of bleep head coach when Justin Herbert throws for 485 touchdowns.
Yeah. Fortunately, we were kind of going back and forth on the problems in Denver and the potential problems in Kansas City. I think it's pretty clear that we know the source of the problem when it comes to the LA Chargers.
Yeah, it's whoever's wearing the hat.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thanks for hopping on, Mr. Alex Taylor Swift.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. It's a pleasure as always. You know how it is, baby. Fins up.